All right, we back, everyday people, man. We back with another lit video. And I'd like to say thank you all for tuning in nightly. Today we're going to have a bigly great live tonight because this is the top talk of government at this hour. We talking government shutdowns. We talking spineless Democrats. We're talking bootlicking Republicans. We're talking hush money or not bribery money. Yes, you heard it. Bribery money. Okay. According to Tom Homan is the acting director of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Oh, he is no longer. What does he do now? Yeah, Tom Homan says if you don't like ICE, if you don't like what ICE is doing, go to Congress. So we're going to talk about Tom Homan and the $50,000 bribery that was said to be taken from other government officials. But amidst all that, before we get into that, I guess we got to talk about the government shutdown, one of the most important things of the night. Now, I can recall government shutdowns happening, a lot. Like I said last night, I don't ever remember there's only one time I remember the government shutting down, and my mom was off work for like maybe a week or two. I don't remember. I can't remember 100%. But what happened was they were shut down, but they only extended it to so long. And then once that extension period happened and they still didn't come up with a plan, that's when they furloughed workers. That's what they call it, furloughed workers. I have no idea. I'm just telling y'all what I heard. But I'm an educated idiot, okay? But all I'm saying is I've seen they threaten government shutdowns often. And I think eventually tonight they will come up with a plan. It's supposed to go into effect by midnight. So, I guess we ain't going to be here till midnight, okay? I still got to go to work in the morning. I don't know about y'all, but we're going to be here for a little bit. We're going to enjoy this time. So, without further ado, let's get into what Trump has to say.
If it has to shut down, it'll have to shut down.
Today, a high-stakes meeting at the White House as the clock ticks down to a government shutdown, now less than 48 hours away. For the first time ever, President Trump meeting with the top 4 congressional leaders, but neither side indicating they're willing to budge.
We're heading into the meeting to have a good faith negotiation about landing the plane in a way that avoids a government shutdown but does not continue the Republican assault on the health care of the American people.
At the center of the issue, health care. Democrats want Republicans to roll back cuts made earlier this year to programs like Medicaid. But Republicans defending the cuts, saying,
our message and what we want out of this is very simple. The president wants to keep the government open. He wants to keep the government funded. There is zero good reason for Democrats to vote against this clean, continuing resolution.
Republicans control every branch of government, but they do need some Democrats in order to pass this bill. It all comes as Trump continues to try to end the war in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today.
President Trump, are you confident, sir, there'll be peace in Gaza anytime soon?
The White House now releasing a 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. It includes the redevelopment of that area, as well as the release of all hostages, which would trigger more aid being let into the region. Trump saying Netanyahu has agreed to those terms. No indication yet if Hamas will too.
It has to.
Yeah, so Trump meeting with the Israeli leader at this point in time is kind of crazy because in such a time where well, there's a lot going on in Gaza. I'm not an expert, but I think the Israeli army is really putting a lashing. And ain't they trying to get some food and supplies over there to Gaza, right? And they're afraid that Israeli soldiers will stop that. And I've seen videos of the lines of people. Let me see if I can pull one of those videos up. But the lines of people that are actually out there is insane for them to be wanting some food. It's called Samud Global Flotilla. I don't know. Look at all the people. They just want some food. This is in Gaza. Where the fuck is in Gaza? Is Gaza the one that Hamas takes? I don't know. See, they even saying the Italy's Melania says Gaza flotilla risk escalation. They trying to keep this war going. Donald Trump says he want to stop the war, but Donald Trump also said something else about war. Before we continue, I want to point out this one little thing Trump says about war.
You say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what. So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what.
Is that a joke? Probably not. By the way he says that, he doesn't want to leave office. We all know this. Trump wants to be the first king of America. Trump wants to honor Donald Trump Jr. or the other Trump son. I don't remember his name. But one of them want to be the successors of the king and, continue to serve Americans. And then they'll get a president, of course, who will then still serve the king and as Donald Trump will still rule. But if he plans, that may sound like a joke, but I guarantee you, if he can find his way into a war, he's going to do it. I'm not 100% sure that there will not be any elections during a war, because we was actually in the war in Iraq for a very long time, and that's when we had the George Bush and Obama election, in which Obama won. So, I don't know if y'all really think if that's the way to go. I don't think it's the way to go, because remember, we're a democracy, right? America first. I don't think Donald Trump ever put America first. I think he put himself first and found a way to make Americans believe that he really cared about us. But in order for Trump's name to live on forever in history, he has to start a war. Mind you, his name will be in history books just cause who he is. But it will be a short chapter. They'll just say he won this election, then he won this election. Other than that, they'll talk about tariffs and how he was tough on immigration and things that have happened. it's gonna leave a ugly stain over time on everything that he's done. Remember, COVID-19, all that stuff happened. So with him starting a war, this will etch him in history books forever and maybe get him his own chapter. And I believe that's what Trump wants. I don't think if he starts a war, it'll be over something so stupid. With who though? You know? We don't really have it. Only time we jump into wars is when we meddling in other folks' business. Now, will we meddle into this war going on? Because if it continues, then someone has to go in and stop it or figure something out or police the situation. And that is how Donald Trump will get a war. And as he says, there's no elections while at war. So there you have it. But I don't know. Maybe he's just talking. Maybe he's just blowing smoke. But, you know. Anyway, let's go back to our next thing.
It has to shut down.
As we inch closer to a government shutdown this morning, you said you might do a lot of layoffs. If DOGE is already reducing the federal workforce, why is it necessary to link more federal jobs cut to a shutdown?
Well, the Democrats want to shut it down, and so when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs. So we'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they're going to be Democrats. As you know, this country, no country can afford to pay for illegal immigration, health care for everybody that comes into the country, and that's what they're insisting. And obviously, I have an obligation to not accept that. That would affect everybody. You know, when I see what we're doing with AI and all the plants that are opening up in the country, $17 trillion is coming. And if you compare that to Biden had, in 4 years, less than $1 trillion. We have 17 trillion, more than that. I think it's going to be much more than that, David. By the end of this year, I think it's going to be far over that. It's a record. It's already a record in 8 months. It's a record by a lot.
As we inch closer to a government shutdown this morning,
Trump keeps saying that Democrats, they're going to be Democrats. What does that mean? He says that Democrats want to pay for health insurance for illegals. Now, I'm finna Google that. Shit. Alright. So here we got a fact check. Of course it's from CNN. Like, what better fact check than from CNN about Democrats? It said Democrats about to shut the government down because they demand we fund health care for illegal aliens. The Democrats are pushing to continue more generous federal subsidies to help Americans afford Obamacare policies and to reverse deep cuts into Medicaid contained in Trump's sweeping domestic policy agenda package. But neither of those changes will provide health coverage to undocumented immigrants since they aren't eligible for either program. And this, if he's lying to us right in our face, why don't somebody call him out on it? Like, be real with it. Say, okay, be transparent. Don't just say the Democrats want to do this. Explain how they're doing it and why they're doing it. Like, explain it, because if he keeps saying this, if you say it enough, it becomes real. Okay, I guess that's in his mind. But in all actuality, we really need to know if that's what's holding it back, that they say they're trying to give health care to immigrants. Well, I don't know. Anybody got Obamacare? Are you an illegal immigrant? Please let me know if you're an illegal immigrant and you have Obamacare, or if you have Medicaid and your Medicaid will rise. Are you an illegal immigrant? Or if if you your medicine, your pharmaceuticals that come from countries outside of the U.S., like a lot of our pharmaceuticals come from Canada. Is that for illegals or is it for just the American people? I'm trying to figure that out because Donald Trump keeps saying it's the Democrats. The Democrats, they want to give health care for illegal immigrants. And of course, we know Donald Trump, you want to get the illegals out of here. I get it. You don't want them to leave with insurance because they can use that same insurance and bill Americans from over in whatever country you send them back to. Is that true or not? Because if that's what it sounds like. Sound like Trump want to stop them from getting the insurance and being covered before he deport them. Because if he deport them and they have our insurance, then they can bill Medicaid from whatever country they in, right? Or am I just making that up? I don't know. It sounds good though.
So if the government shuts down, which here on Capitol Hill is looking increasingly likely, it has a huge impact across the federal government. First and foremost, millions of people, federal employees, soldiers, would go without pay. Some of them would be told that they're essential and be told to show up to work anyway. Those are TSA agents, air traffic controllers, people who do weather forecasting at the National Weather Service. And then there are employees who would be deemed non-essential. They would be furloughed and told, don't show up until the shutdown is over. The thing about a government shutdown is the longer it lasts, the worse the impacts are. And so what we've seen as government shutdowns keep going and going and going, services start to get impacted. So for instance, in other shutdowns, we've seen delays at airports because even though they're told to show up to work, some air traffic controllers, some TSA agents, they call out because they're not getting paid for the work that they're doing. It could also lead to delays in FDA inspections at food processors. The list goes on and on. SNAP and WIC, programs for food assistance for mothers and those who are lower income, could start to be impacted the longer the shutdown goes on. The mail still goes out, and Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those checks are still processed, but you could see delays in the processing of those as well because there are some employees, the agencies responsible for those, that would be furloughed or others who would be working without pay. And of course, there is a massive economic impact on the families of federal employees and soldiers who would be going without paychecks for days, weeks. The longest shutdown in American history was 35 days. That was in the first Trump administration. It's the last time we saw a government shutdown, although we've gotten close a few times since then. And there's one more thing to know about government shutdowns, which is while federal employees aren't paid by law in a government shutdown, members of Congress still get paid.
Ain't that interesting? They still get paid. And they ain't getting the job done. I think that's a slap in the face to government employees. Also, so we just watched what this all impacts with the cost of everything. I think the flight, with everything rising, flights are less. People are taking less flights. Also, I was in the store today and I was looking at a slab of ribs, and 2 slabs of ribs was $30. And I'm like, damn, I'm underpriced in my food. As a business owner, I'm having to raise the price of my food, which I really don't want to, because I'm not hurting, but it's gonna be inevitable for me to make a profit. I gotta raise the price on my food, so it's happening. That ain't got nothing to do with the government shutdown, but I guarantee you, it's gonna trickle down the line if we do have a government shutdown, whether it be for 1 day or 30 days. He also mentioned that the longest shutdown in history was 35 days, which happened in the first Trump administration, and I believe that's the one I'm talking about, where my mom was off of work, and I was just like, well, first she was at work, and then it wasn't maybe 2 weeks in, they couldn't go back to work because they what their plan was like, the government is not going to shut down for long, so we need to just keep working. Well, after 2 weeks, now these people are like, hey, we didn't get paid. And they're like, okay, they had their big meeting. Everybody's furloughed, you know. So, sad situation, man. I hope, you know, for those who are dependent on this, that, you know, maybe we shouldn't give the illegals, you know, insurance, Medicaid, because that's what Trump is claiming, that the Democrats, but maybe we shouldn't. I'm not saying that we shouldn't give Americans health care, because that's what we should do. Affordable health care options, okay? Maybe that's what we should do. So if Trump is, can we get to the bottom line of that, to where they say, okay, we're not giving this to illegal immigrants, because you hear Democrats saying one thing when they come to the podium, and then you have Donald Trump and J.D. Vance saying another thing. Now, are they even supposed to be speaking? I thought this was a Congress meeting. So it seems as if Congress don't move unless Trump say something. Like, they just be sitting back there. What should we do, Trump? He's like, don't sign it. They're like, yes, sir. And they go back, we're not signing it because of what Trump said. And the Democrats are like, bro, y'all wasted 5 hours to go talk to y'all daddy, and then now y'all come back and say y'all can't sign it. This is crap. And I believe the Republicans, they don't want to budge because Trump is telling them not to budge. And Trump don't want to negotiate. It's the art of the deal. We talk about the man who wrote the art of the deal. I ain't saying all his deals are good, but when they work, they work. And so this is part of his negotiation tactics that he's done with TikTok, that he's done with tariffs, that he's done with government funding year after year. Government shutdowns, I think, have been happening every year for at least the past 10 years. Trump administration, Joe Biden's administration, and a couple in Obama's administration. So they've been out there.
Are only hours away from a government shutdown, and the Democrats have a very clear binary choice. They can choose to keep the government open by voting for a short-term, nonpartisan, clean continuing resolution, 24 pages long, or they can vote to shut the government down. That's what we're looking at. They, as you all know, have voted during the time they had the majority 13 different times, and when Biden was in the White House, on short-term continuing resolutions, 13 different times. And so it begs the question, is what's changed? And I think what's changed is President Trump is in the White House. That's what this is about. This is politics. And there isn't any substantive reason why there ought to be a government shutdown. This is something that has been done routinely, as I said, 13 different times when the Democrats have the majority. But we are not going to be held hostage for over $1 trillion in new spending on a continuing resolution, nor are we going to be held hostage to allow illegals to get free health care in a continuing resolution.
There they go again.
These are things that they're demanding as part of their so-called negotiation. Ladies and gentlemen, there isn't anything here to negotiate. This is a routine funding resolution to keep the government open so that we can continue.
Oh man, I want y'all to see this right. Look at this man right here. I hate the smug look on his face, man. Oh man, this dude grinds my gears, man. This is Senator Langford. Look, he just, what you want to give him a kiss? What you looking at him so hard for? This is the Oklahoma representative, and this guy, man. Oh my God, this guy. Hey, you talk about spineless, dog. You talk about bending over, no Vaseline. This dude has not made one good policy in Oklahoma. But anyway, let's finish so I can get to my point. But I just noticed him and he just threw me all off.
Our appropriations work and fund the government in the old-fashioned way, which is allowing the Appropriations Committee, Democrats and Republicans, to work together as they have been And by the way, the Democrat leader keeps talking about not consulting. The Appropriations Committee, they picked the date. Democrats and Republicans, the big four on the Appropriations Committee were consulting. They picked the date for the continuing resolution, November the 21st. And so this has been an open process from the very beginning. This year we opened up the appropriations process, something that wasn't done when the Democrats had the majority here in the Senate. But they have a clear choice in front of them today. And I hope there are Democrats out there. This may not represent the view of their leadership, but I'm hoping there are Democrats out there who are reasonable and understand what's at stake here. And as they have articulated many times in the past, the costs associated to the American people with the government shutdown. This is totally avoidable. It is a decision they're going to have to make. And if the government shuts down, it is on the Senate Democrats. The House is acted. The President's ready to sign the bill. And all that's left is for 8 Democrats to join us in passing that bill today. Senator, are only hours away from a government.
We finna talk about the lies and the pointing the fingers. We talk about the Spider-Man thing, okay?
Shutdown, and the Democrats have a very clear binary choice. They can choose to keep the government open by voting for a short-term, nonpartisan, clean continuing resolution.
You hear that? They have a choice to vote for a nonpartisan, clean, short-term resolution. Bipartisan means both parties agree with it. Can we agree with that? Can we agree with that? So meaning, if they pass this nonpartisan, that means everything that's on the bipartisan bill, we're not going back and looking at that. So if we pass this, even if it's a short-term deal, we will not go back and look at anything that was on the previous bill. That's what that means. So it's a word salad. Once you get into it and you take a bite and you be like, that was something in there. I don't know what that was. That an artichoke? I don't even want no more. He just hit y'all with the artichoke and y'all didn't know that it was in there. He tried to hit y'all with something healthy, but it ain't got a tangy taste.
24 pages long, or they can vote to shut the government down. That's what we're looking at. They, as you all know, have voted during the time they had the majority 13 different times, and when Biden was in the White House, on short-term continuing resolutions, 13 different times. And so it begs the question is...
So someone just said, you didn't say that with other presidents. I did just say it. I said when Joe Biden was in, they did the same thing. Like, this don't make no sense. But you know the part about it is, when they did short-term resolutions, they were bipartisan. That means everybody had a voice. Democrats and Republicans. I don't think y'all understand now. As Trump is on his, I'm telling you, he got a hit list. He coming back for all y'all. What he's trying to tell y'all is that he not giving up on what he wants. He wants the Republicans to steadfast and don't pull back. You got to stand strong, hold on, forget this. Don't worry about the government shutdown. Don't ease up on the Democrats. The Democrats will fold. This is what they saying. The Democrats will fold. They have to fold. I'm telling y'all, it's the truth. Because one, I don't know how strong the leaders are, but the people behind it, that's just like having, it's just like having, you know, you got, I'm going to just do old wrestling. If y'all watch wrestling, you got Triple H. If you got Triple H in the ring, and then your tag team partner is X-Pac, little bitty X-Pac, and you fighting Kane and Undertaker, what the fuck is that going to do? That means we got a strong leader, but everybody behind us is weak, and then you got, you know, Kane and Undertaker on the other side ready to whoop y'all's ass because you got little bitty X-Pac down there. I don't know how else to explain it, but it makes sense if you just Google who these people are and you see like the size difference. So basically, Trump is telling the Democrats that they gonna fold because they don't really have nobody strong enough to stand on. There will be 8 people who will vote for this stupid ass bill, who won't shut the government down, who will give in. And there won't be anyone from the Republican Party to budge on any of the bills that they have. Republicans have a bill, Democrats have a bill. Both of them have something in hand that they'll give and take. Some people are in negotiations of what they will accept, but they won't accept it. I'm telling you.
What's changed? And I think what's changed is President Trump is in the White House. That's what this is about. This is politics. And there isn't any substantive reason why there ought to be a government shutdown. This is something that has been done routinely, as I said, 13 different times when the Democrats have the majority. But we are not going to be held hostage for over $1 trillion.
And when the Democrats had a majority, the government was facing a shutdown, but they made a resolution, a bipartisan resolution, and didn't shut the government down. They only did that when Trump was in office. And it looks like, again, another government shutdown will happen under Trump's watch. What is that telling you about the Republicans? They're non-negotiables. They have terrible non-negotiables. Okay? And they are blamed. We got to get to the part where you talk about in the immigrants. But we're going to, again, this is going to come up 1,000 times.
Spending on a continuing resolution. Nor are we going to be held hostage to allow illegals to get free health care in a continuing resolution.
If I say it enough, it'll become true. We just read on the much credible source that doesn't show any bias to the Democrats, CNN, that nobody. What up? Let me read it again. Let me read it again. What CNN said. They said, the Democrats are pushing to continue more generous federal subsidies to help Americans afford Obamacare policies and to reverse deep cuts to Medicaid contained in Trump's sweeping domestic policy agenda package. But neither of those changes will provide health coverage to undocumented immigrants since they aren't eligible for either program. Again, if I say it enough, then it becomes true, and that's what we're hearing.
I have to say to my Democrat colleagues, there is no reason for a shutdown. I mean, it's going to threaten Medicaid reimbursement, it's going to threaten VA services, it's going to threaten farmers' USDA, farming services. I'm thinking about things in my state that are really, really important. Military service members' pay, national parks, I mean, I just go on and on.
President Trump is totally out of touch. This kind of theatrical approach to negotiation, posting AI content that mocks and degrades the other side, is not the way to negotiate. He is totally unserious.
I thought it was hilarious. I think people take that stuff too seriously and try to find political hay to make out of it. It's a funny video that was posted, although I do think it probably is.
Did y'all see the video? Let me see. It ain't even a video. It's a picture of Hakeem. It's a picture of Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero. If y'all haven't seen it, God damn.
Telling that the Democrats' demands right now are just totally unreasonable.
I think yesterday was an opportunity that was missed. The gathering in the White House was a chance for the legislative leaders with the president to avoid a government shutdown. And there wasn't any follow-up whatsoever.
I mean, you see what I see. It appears we're going to have a shutdown. Shutdowns are always a combination of policy and politics, but to varying degrees. This one is more politics than policy.
I have to say to my Democrat colleagues,
When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Mr. President, Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Oh shit! I thought that was an actual video. Oh, I need to find a video of what Trump posted because it's like, it's not hilarious. This guy said, "Oh, I thought it was hilarious." People are trying to.
It's telling that it's a funny video, hilarious. I think people take that stuff too seriously and try to find political hay to make out of it. It's a funny video that was posted. Although I do think it probably is telling that the Democrats' demands right now are just totally unreasonable.
Is this fun? Is this a time to be funny? Is this time for our president to now be a comedian? Hey, maybe we should take him off air like they did Jimmy Kimmel when the jokes don't fly. Okay? It was very unsatisfying to see your commander-in-chief posting videos mocking Americans. I'm not going to say his opposition because we're all American. See, when you use words like opposition and the other side and stuff like that, you act like we're not Americans at the same time. We are all Americans. We just have a different viewpoint on where we want our lives to be portrayed and the things that we want in life, and to look out for the people, or to be able to have make a living, but not to mock people on the world stage as the command. Now if Jimmy Kimmel posted it, I'd be like, that's hilarious, and he's not funny at all. But your president posting it, that's just out of line, man. Come on, man.
The question right now in D.C. is not if there will be a government shutdown, but how long a government shutdown is going to be. Both Republicans and Democrats are pretty dug in their positions right now, and there has been a lot of finger pointing today between the White House and Congress.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
Trump admitted himself that he is using Americans as political pawns. He is admitting that he is doing the firing of people if, God forbid, it happens.
We're getting a better idea about what the economic impact is of a shutdown. So the Congressional Budget Office is now estimating that 750,000 federal employees are going to be furloughed. And remember, Trump did promise that some of them would be laid off. The CBO also came out with a letter saying that there will be an impact on the private sector, and some industries that usually have the government purchase goods and services might never recover the funds if the government shutdown goes on for more than 2 weeks.
Mr. President, allow me to reintroduce myself.
The question.
Mr. President, I'll introduce myself. Allow me to reintroduce myself. Democratic leader. I'm the House Democratic leader.
The question right now in D.C. is not if there will be a government shutdown, but how long a government shutdown is going to be. Both Republicans and Democrats are pretty dug in their positions right now, and there has been a lot of finger pointing today between the White House and Congress.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
Trump admitted himself that he is using Americans as political pawns. He is admitting that he is doing the firing of people if, God forbid, it happens.
We're getting a better idea about what the economic impact is of a shutdown. So the Congressional Budget Office is now estimating that 750.
Back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Mr. President, allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm the House Democratic leader. Our caucus is 217 members strong. We serve in a separate and co-equal branch of government. We don't work for you, we work for the American people. And Mr. President, the next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Say it to my face.
Well, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that Trump would say it to his face. I just think he'll be like, oh, it was just a joke. It wasn't serious. It wasn't serious, you know. But I wouldn't say that to a president though. I wouldn't say it to my face, because you know, bro got Secret Service. What do you have, Hakeem? What do you have, Hakeem? Not a damn thing.
We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut that government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it.
So I'm easily confused, as everybody knows.
Well, no, it's...
But I'm confused. I mean, he was the guy who said that Donald Trump might be America's Hitler, and then he changed. He's a guy that said God expects more from us than to vote for Donald Trump. JD did. And then he changed. And Mika, didn't he say, like, not so long ago that this is exactly when you use your leverage to try to get the other party to change?
Yeah, man. Why shouldn't we be trying to force this government shutdown fight to get something out of it that's good for the American people? Like, why have a government if it's not a functioning government?
What a shock. What a shock.
A year ago.
That's just it.
Right.
Oh, I thought that might be a decade ago, 30 years ago.
That was like a young
JD
Vance. Oh, wait, he is pretty young.
You know, you never know what's going to happen here. You really don't. Donald Trump can decide what he wants to decide. I will say, actually, going through a government shutdown, you know, everybody on the floor would all gather. Well, you know, people will understand that Bill Clinton did, and would sit there. And finally, like, it occurred to me, I go, dude, nobody's paying attention to this. When the government shut down, they're going to blame Republicans. They always blame. And sure enough, the government was shut down. Bill Clinton broke us politically, got reelected. It worked in his favor. When there was a shutdown, I guess, 2011? Same thing happened. They didn't blame Barack Obama, even though Republicans were like, I'm going to blame Barack Obama. They never did. They don't do that. People, like, working, like, in middle America aren't going, well, you know, they passed a clean CR. It's clean. So that's the problem, is Republicans own the White House. Republicans own the Senate. Republicans own the House.
They have a lot of power.
Republicans own the Supreme Court. People in middle America, when they see government shutdown, they go, wait a sec, we put Republicans in charge of everything, and they can't even run a government. This is not wish casting. This is like 30 years of experience. Republicans always get blamed for government shutdowns, especially when you have the monopoly of power in Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Boy, when y'all heard it, y'all think he be lying, but he telling the truth. Okay? Should I say it in my lower loomer? Bitch, we up in here, okay? Look at that ass. That's what she tell. We up in this thing. Republican till I die. We're gonna shut this government down, okay? Listen, man. Republicans are gonna get the blame for this. Look, when you have all the cards stacked in your hand and you still fall, look, man, listen. You ever play spades with somebody that got a good ass hand and they really don't know how to play, and they play some dumb shit instead of starting to lead with their spades, like somebody already cut, and they like, all right, lead with a spade so you can take everybody's spades and control the game, but then you got a dummy that don't play. That's the Republicans. Republicans got a full, like they got 13 books between the two, and one partner over there like, nigga, we got this, and the other partner over there, and the opponents, the Democrats over here like, shit, I can go board looking ass. Board meaning we can only get 4 books, but possibly we can't get 4 books, but that's the lowest we can bid. It's 4 books. Come on, white people, stay with me. Y'all gotta either go to prison or go to a cookout and learn this game, okay? But what I'm saying is, Republicans have the leverage right now, and they're not using it correctly. What they should be doing is trying to work with the Democrats to pass whatever and not give health care to illegals. Because it's not true. If you say it enough, it becomes true. But then when you find out that it's not true, then you're sitting here with a government shutdown because you told everybody that it was over health care for illegal immigrants.
What this government shutdown is all about is whether Republicans are going to be able to get away with raising health insurance premiums by 75%. Yes, 75% on average for 20 million Americans. And in addition to that, throwing 15 million people off the health care they have by making devastating cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. And you know what that means? That means, not according to Bernie Sanders, but according to people who have studied the issue, academics, tens of thousands of Americans are going to die unnecessarily. Well, you know what? I am not going to support that. And that is why the Republicans have got to sit down, they've got to negotiate, and they've got to protect the health care needs of the American people.
Hey man, Bernie Sanders, shout out to Bernie Sanders, man. He's still fighting for y'all at the tender age of 110, okay? Bernie Sanders dedicated his life to politics, and he's not gonna bend on healthcare. He's been trying to give universal healthcare for the past 20 years. And even though Bernie voted for the crime bill back in the 86 crime bill, damn, think about it. Bernie was in politics in 86. Like, bro, it's like, that's like, god damn, I can't even do the math. Almost 40 years ago. And he was probably in politics long before that. So what, he was about, 80 at that time. Bro been in politics for so long. And I like, damn, we don't need health care. We just need your dietary plan and your doctor. Or like, who's shooting you up with stuff every night to make you still alive, Bernie Sanders? That's what we need. Fuck the healthcare. I need your health plan, okay? That's all we need. We need to know how to live to a tender age of 140 like Bernie Sanders, okay? Like, for real. He trying to fight for healthcare, man. Try to fight for healthier options, Bernie, because I swear Bernie he gotta eat whatever he eat has to keep his heart beating, the blood pumping through his body, because old people be cold in the mug, so his house probably 95 degrees up in that joint, and he walking through there not even breaking a sweat, okay? Like, man, y'all know when y'all go to y'all grandma's house, that mug be hot. You be like, ooh wee, sheesh. I came from inside and I'm hotter in here. I came from outside, it's hotter here. Like, it be the dead middle of the summer. You go in your grandma's house, that mug be, you sweating. You be sitting in front of the fan, like, right on that bitch. Like, ooh, Lord. Like, all y'all be fighting over the fan. When you go to bed, you put the fan over your cover over your fan, so that mug just blowing air straight to your body. Like, forget all this. And your sister, share the fan. He not sharing the fan. Like, just don't sleep with a cover on top of your body. Boy, that boy Bernie Sanders old, man.
Well, we're a few hours out from a government shutdown, and I'm here in Washington at work, which is where I wish my colleagues across the aisle were, doing everything possible to come to the table for us to negotiate on behalf of the people who sent us here so that we can pass a bipartisan spending bill that makes your life easier, better, because that's what you deserve. This partisan spending bill is only going to compound the hurt that the Republicans have been hell-bent on bringing to the people in the communities that I serve. You know, gutting essential services, you know, mass layoffs. There's people are already reeling from the impacts of this big, ugly bill. Cuts to SNAP, cuts to Medicaid. I mean, 15 million people were impacted by those cuts to Medicaid. And healthcare is a human right. And I represent one of the most unequal districts in the country, and that's true across all outcomes, including health outcomes. So I'm very concerned. My heart is very heavy. My district has already lost 2 hospitals. We've lost community pharmacies. Community health centers in my district serve 1 in 3 of my constituents, and they are already being impacted by the cuts to Medicaid because they rely on those reimbursements. And now they stand to be doubly impacted if this partisan spending bill passes. You're talking about nursing homes that will close, community health centers that will close, hospitals that will close, and people's health care costs skyrocketing. And what does that mean? It means that even if you have insurance, that you might not be able to afford your insulin, your medication for your high blood pressure, or any other essentials that are keeping you alive and keeping you healthy. And then, you know, also my district is home to Boston Logan Airport, and air traffic controllers and TSA workers who stand to be impacted by a federal government shutdown, and other contracted workers who I'll be, you know, fighting for them. So what I want you to know is just that I refuse to see this government shutdown as an inevitability. We're going to fight, hold the line and stand our ground, appeal to our Republican colleagues to be people of conscience and to come to the table. They've already caused so much harm. Now is the time not to compound the harm. Let's restore the cuts to Medicaid. Let's save health care. And let's keep the government open. It's what you deserve. Well, we're a few hours out.
Republicans don't like poor people. What are we talking about, okay? You know what's funny is Republicans on Medicaid. Do y'all understand this? All right, if you're a Republican and you don't support Democrats in this instance, meaning the people who are fighting for your medical coverage, I mean, if you can't afford it, if you're on a fixed income, mind you, they don't raise Social Security like they want it to be raised. You know, when they raise Social Security, it'd be like 3%, 2%, which essentially is only like $25 a month. But that's all. You know, that's swallowed up by, you know, increase in medical supplies and your prescription medicine. That swallows that up like that. That extra $25 ain't gonna get you nowhere. It's just covering what you, and it's not even enough to cover everything that goes up. Mind you, with all the cuts and all the spending and the layoffs, we're heading into I don't know if y'all been to the Bay Area and been to Oakland in a while, or you could just go to the nearest major city and just see the homeless population grows, and they're not all just displaced mental health patients. Some of them used to be hard-working people, fell on hard times. I went to go, matter of fact, I could probably pull up a picture. Just a month ago, I was up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we went to go feed the homeless with another organization. We all joined in together to team up. They was giving haircuts, giving out clothes, making hamburgers and stuff like that, feeding the homeless. And I'm looking at some of these young people my age who are homeless, and I'm like, bruh, they're just like, you know, I don't have no family to look after. There's no funding to help me get into a school. There's no place where I could, you know, shower and prepare myself for the day. It's just, there's nothing for the people who just need it and just need to get back on their feet. And when you cut it, the people who already have it are the ones in line fighting the most. And those people who don't have it, and they feel that they don't have no option because they're put at the back of the line because they don't have it at all. And so that's what's about to happen. So you about to see the homelessness rate rise, especially when you try to put people back to work after. This is in the big beautiful bill. She called it the big ugly bill. They want to put people back to work. They want to make people work 20 hours a week to continue on getting food stamps. As soon as you start that 20 hours, they're going to cut your food stamps. So then the money you making to work is now covering the food that you eat. But now you got to work more so you can pay for the food that you're no longer getting. And now they cutting your food stamps more to when now you working full time and struggling just to put some food on the table. When in all actuality, that's how it started off with you not having with you putting food on the table through SNAP, and now you ain't got none because you had to get a job. Imagine that. I mean, that's everybody's life. Like I just ate a $5 rotisserie chicken and some warm up in the microwave macaroni. Oh no, I warmed it up in the oven, but. You know.
Now to the potential impacts a government shutdown could have, not just on federal workers, but all of us. NBC's Brian Chung is at the big board to break it all down. Hey, Brian.
Well, hey there, as we do head towards a potential government shutdown, there's a lot at stake in terms of the economy, but also for the hundreds of thousands of federal workers out there who could be facing paycheck delays. Again, a lot of them actually might be forced to work because they're deemed essential, but would not be getting paid to do so. That can lead to some problems, which I'll explain later on. There's also government data delays. We're actually expecting a big jobs report telling us what the economy looked like in the month of September. That's due on Friday. But if the government's shut down, we won't get that report at all. And then even for people that don't work in the government or watch government data, there could be closures of national parks and museums. If you were planning a trip this weekend, you might have to scrub it because of the shutdowns related to the Smithsonian, also on the National Mall and across those parks around the country. Now, when it comes to the critical services that will still be online, I want to point out things like Social Security, Medicare will still be running uninterrupted. Things like ICE as well as Customs and Border Protection, they will continue to operate as well. There are a few things here worth flagging. First, notably, Veterans Affairs. Yes, healthcare will still be provided at VA hospitals, but new enrollees could experience some delays with some employees potentially not working. Also, TSA. In theory, your trip to the airport should be uninterrupted because those workers at those air traffic control towers will still be deemed essential. But as we've seen in previous government shutdowns, if they're working without pay, some of them choose not to show up at all, and all it takes is for a few controllers not to show up to really lead to long delays at the airport. Worth thinking about.
Hey, Anthony.
Yeah.
Do you think this government shutdown is actually going to happen?
I'm a little skeptical about it, but I'm prepared to be pleasantly surprised if it does.
Why is that?
Well, two main reasons, right? One is that I don't have a lot of faith in the Democratic leadership having the spine right now, just based on their recent activity fighting back against Trump administration. And the other is basically precedent, right? It feels like at least we've had shutdown threats almost every year for the last 8 years or so at least. And pretty much every time there is a shutdown threat, it seems like there's going to be a shutdown until the 11th hour. And then, shortly before midnight, all the parties come to an agreement and the government is functioning again, right? To be fair to the Democrats, that is usually the Republicans threatening to shut down the government, not the Democrats. Nonetheless, we have seen a lot of potential shutdowns that do get averted at the last minute. And then you combine that with the Democratic Party just being generally spineless against Trump and not doing anything to actually strongly resist him or to listen to their own base. We just look at, for example, how Mamdani is being supported in New York by the Democratic Party, which is to say he's not. And we've had a lot of Democratic senators vote yes on really dubious legislation that has been passed by the Republicans. So I don't have a lot of faith in corporate Democrats as a whole. The only shred of hope that I do have that a shutdown will actually happen is that during the last Trump administration from 2018 to 2019, there was a government shutdown that was pushed by the Democrats, and it was actually the longest shutdown in U.S. history of 35 days. So they did it then. I'm willing to believe that they'll do it again. We'll see what happens tomorrow night.
It sounds like you want the government to shut down.
Yeah, I mean, the Trump administration is using the government as a tool of fascism right now. And anything that prevents it from doing that or even slows it down is going to be a good thing, right? The shutdown is essentially a form of protest by the Democratic representatives if it does happen. And I think that is a very important protest for them to do. That being said, I recognize that the shutdown harms a lot of people, right? Federal workers to start with, and then everybody that needs to access the services. So I don't say that lightly, but given that I'm also calling for a national general strike, I do think it is something that would be effective at slowing down the Trump administration and what they're trying to do with the U.S.
Oh, y'all seem mad in the chat, man. Look, man, the Republicans, this is all on y'all. Look, man, I just want to let y'all know that black people ain't the only recipients for food stamps. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are more white people on food stamps. Why is that? Because white people are everywhere. Okay? Everywhere. Come on, man. You think that... But there's probably 2 to 1 white people versus black people in America receiving food stamps, and we're not even including the illegals. Okay, but I'm talking about the illegal white folks. Okay, look, Republicans hold the House. Okay, let's say black people are the main people. Black people, you got to go back to work. What about the white folks? Do you not want the white people? Do you want the white people to go back to work? The ones that are receiving SNAP? All those single mothers? Look, white men are becoming baby daddies just like black men. Well, whenever you hear black baby daddy, you think of a black man. But hey, there's a lot of white ones out here. It's a lot of moms on TikTok. I can't think of that lady's name, but my daughter, she wanted me to do a video on her. But she was sleeping with a younger guy. I forgot her name. It was like Tina something or whatever. Yeah, white. She getting food stamps, having babies everywhere. Listen, this is not a black and white thing. This is a have and have not thing. Okay? When you talk about taking Medicare from 80-year-old women and raising prices on pharmaceuticals, you're not talking about black and white. We're talking about have and have not. I'm pretty sure about 90% of you have a grandmother who is on Medicaid or Medicare. A lot of you do. It don't matter how much money you got. Your grandma's still independent. Your grandma still live in the house she want to live in. She still take care of her house that she's been having for the last 60 years. And she ain't got no job. And she's content with her life. But instead of you just paying for insurance for her, you let her claim herself so she can get her Medicaid and stuff paid for, because if not, then you would have to foot the bill. Now tell me you ain't tell me that you would say, no, I don't want my grandma on Medicaid. I'll put her on my insurance and pay for everything. Whereas if she could be on Medicaid because she gets Social Security and she's on a fixed income, she can get all her services for free. If I'm lying, no, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself if you just said, no, my grandma, she too good for Medicaid. Let me get her Blue Cross and Blue Shields. Like, you're a liar. You're not gonna pay that much for Blue Cross and Blue Shields for your grandma. You're a liar. You get on Medicaid so she can get that free support, and you do it. So now when they start cutting stuff, and then your grandma's crying, and you go over there and you be like, damn, grandma, what's wrong? And she just won't want to tell you because she got too much pride. Then you find out that, you know, her insulin went up and she can't afford it. But she was too scared to ask you for money because you always tight-lipped with your money. And you be like, grandma, why you ain't spending the money I give you? You're supposed to save it. And she want to take her ass down to bingo. But now she can't pay her insulin because she spent her last 20 on bingo. See, now you got a bigger problem. Y'all think I be lying, but I be telling y'all the truth. Y'all just got to dig into it.
The United States of America. Leader Jeffries, right now. But what specifically could they offer you on Obamacare subsidies in the next 36 hours that would get you to agree to a deal?
In the conversation, we've made clear that the Republicans have a position, and that position is that they're uninterested in addressing the health care needs of the American people, and that our position with respect to the Affordable Care Act tax credits is a permanent extension. And we're waiting to hear back from Republicans after that meeting as to whether they are willing to actually sit down over the next 30 hours or so and find a bipartisan path forward. House Republicans are on vacation right now. House Democrats are here, ready to do the work of the American people. Senate Democrats and even Senate Republicans are here in the Capitol. And it appears, at least to me, that a decision has been made by House Republican leaders, perhaps blessed by the administration, to shut the government down. Why did they cancel votes? Why are they on vacation spread out across the country and the world when we're on the brink of a government shutdown?
So Leader Schumer told reporters today that it seemed like the president was unaware of the ramifications of some of the expiring Obamacare subsidies, something that the vice president and speaker refuted. But what did you see in here from President Trump on that issue?
It was a frank, sharp, and candid discussion about the United States of America.
Leader Jeffries,
right now.
but what specific?
I think we got to start calling these people out by name. You know, if somebody, all they can say is Democrat, Republican, who's not doing this, who's on vacation. Who's on vacation when we should be sending this? I know he probably seen somebody's Instagram where they on vacation and they living their best life because they don't have time to continue to deal with the bickering back and forth. So who's on vacation? Just call them out.
So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now.
On the Homan investigation, I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters.
That was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt last week telling reporters to get their facts straight about the FBI's investigation into border czar Tom Homan for a cash for contracts scheme. It was first reported by MSNBC. Now MSNBC has ironed out more of those details on how Homan became a part of that FBI sting. Sources familiar with the investigation and a government document reviewed by MSNBC say Homan was not entrapped by undercover FBI agents, as Leavitt suggested, but rather that those agents were repeatedly steered.
I don't know if y'all just heard me, but I was just talking about her. This might be some Lewinsky going on. I might have been muted, but yeah, anyway. Yeah, this is a picture of her from last night. So yeah. I don't know. Do with it what you will. I don't know. I don't know where this picture came from. It could be AI. It could be AI.
To Homan by one of his own associates, Julian Jace Calderas, a former U.S. immigration official who worked under Homan in the Obama administration, allegedly proposed to the agents who were posing as businessmen that Homan could help them win lucrative federal contracts if Donald Trump became president again in exchange for $1 million. Calderas first allegedly proposed the scheme in May 2023 and continued to do so for more than a year until that September 2024 meeting in Dallas where agents allegedly recorded Homan accepting $50,000 in cash. Instead of immediately moving to file charges, those agents waited to see what would happen after Homan joined the Trump administration as the nation's top immigration official. But when Donald Trump won, his DOJ shut the whole investigation down. The White House has criticized the investigation as a politically motivated inquiry by the Biden administration, and Homan has denied he did anything wrong.
On the Homan investigation,
controversy swirling around Tom Homan, President Trump's border czar. The New York Times reports that Homan was recorded accepting a bag with $50,000 in cash. It was from FBI agents posing as business executives in an undercover sting. What can you tell us about this?
Well, we know this was an investigation that was broader than Tom Homan, and according to the Times, he wasn't actually the original target. But as you and I both know from covering the department, to get to the point where you do a sting operation, there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and that includes trying to build probable cause and to try to get approvals from some of the higher level officials at the Justice Department before you can do something like this. And so the question at this hour is, why did the investigation get shut down under this administration? The previous administration decided not to bring it before they left office. We know that according to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Kash Patel, the FBI director, they say that they shut it down because there was not enough evidence there to support it. Obviously, the White House has said that it is a political investigation. It was a political attack on Tom Homan.
Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong, and even the President's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. In the White House and the President stand by Tom Homan 100%.
Man, I don't believe anything if you put any of those names together in any order. I don't believe nothing they say. Anything that them people say, when you put those names together in a sentence and you using all their names and you say, oh, well, they said this and there's not this, somebody fucking lying. There's somebody lying.
Seeing is believing, at least for some of us, because as we know, January 6th is highly disputed about what happened on that day. But, you know, especially if he's not going to come clean about what he did, and with all the conspiracies that this White House and this administration is constantly putting out, the best thing that we can do is have some proof for those that actually want to know the truth. So I hope that we can get that video footage, but last I checked, we're still having problems getting the rest of these Epstein files out of the Department of Justice. So I'm not really sure. It seems like the Attorney General is too busy trying to figure out if the president is tweeting her about something or truthing her or whatever you want to call it, or texting. I'm not really sure, because he's real concerned about Tish James and trying to figure out why we can't prosecute Tish James. Yet sitting in his administration, it seems clear that he has plenty of criminals amongst him, including himself, that maybe should be prosecuted, but we're not going to talk about that.
Now, I don't like Texas too much. Like, I hate Texas Longhorns. I hate the Chevy got that Texas Lone Star truck. I hate Texas tea. I hate Texas toast. I love the Dallas Cowboys. And I love me some Jasmine Crockett. Okay? Just let y'all know.
Tom, I want to give you a chance to address this article that came out over the weekend, and it was on our always reliable MSNBC, and they said that you took $50,000 in cash in a bag from an undercover FBI agent to help them win government contracts in Trump's second term. The DOJ said they concluded there was no criminal wrongdoing, but nevertheless, that story is out there, and I imagine you want to respond to that.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I did nothing criminal. I did nothing illegal. And there's hit piece after hit piece after hit piece. And I'm glad the FBI and DOJ came out and said, said that nothing illegal happened and nothing, no criminal activity. You're talking about a guy who spent 34 years enforcing the law. I mean, I left a very successful business that I ran to come back and work for a government again. I'm back on a government paycheck. Not only did I sacrifice my family sacrifices, I make sacrifices every day. I got more death threats than anybody. I got a security team around me, but guess what? My kids don't. My wife don't. I mean, I haven't lived with my wife in months because I don't want her to be here right now with all the threats. So after all the sacrifice.
Oh, he trying to get her off. I got security by me, but my wife don't. Did you get that? He trying to get rid of her.
After serving my nation for all these years, they want to come on and dirty me up. And it's not going to end. There's a hit piece on me every 2 weeks. But keep coming, because you know what? Tom Homan isn't going anywhere. Tom Homan isn't shutting up. And Tom Homan's going to keep doing what he's doing, because working with President Trump's the greatest honor of my life. We're making this country safer again every day, and we're going to keep doing it.
Tom, I want to...
Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, says nobody is above the law. But let me bring up the case of Tom Homan. He was here last week. Again, Republicans show up, and I so appreciate it. And I even said...
I'm here for it.
I know. I even said, Ted, thank you for the... he's been doing this since the 80s. He's done some good things. I don't agree with the things he's doing, a lot of them with ICE. But it came out the next day. By the way, the people who were all saying, Bill, why didn't you ask him about this? Because it hadn't happened yet last week. The next day, an undercover sting operation recorded Tom Homan taking $50,000 in cash in a bag. A bag. Now, we're not going to call this a bribe because that's what normal people do. They take money in a bag. And the FBI, again, because we are way past having an independent FBI or Justice Department, says we're not pursuing it. I want to get your feelings on this, and then also your feelings on what Megyn Kelly tweeted, which I want to know if this is your feeling too. It seems to be she's speaking for a lot of Republicans. She said, "We do not care. Bag of cash in a paper bag. We do not care." Is that where you are?
Well, no, I take on Republicans and Democrats. I call them balls and strikes. In fact, I'm going, no, 100%.
Come on, man.
No, I absolutely am. And my record shows that. But what Kash Patel said is that they investigated this. It was not true. He didn't take a bag of cash. And that there is...
It's on tape.
Have you heard the tape? I haven't heard the tape. I would rather hear the tape and hear what's going on. But Kash Patel said they investigated it, that he did not do that. And this was the Biden administration targeting him, trying to ensnare him in something he did not do. And then the White House stated this week that it didn't happen and case closed. That's what they said. That's what the FBI said. They investigated.
Okay, well, then I made this hat for you. It's, we do not care. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, says nobody is above the...
So did they give it to him in like a brown paper bag or like a bank bag? I mean, if they gave it to him in a brown paper bag, you thinking drug deal, this looks sketchy, like a $50,000. I don't know how many of y'all have had $50,000 cash, but depending on how you have it, like if you got it like drug dealer money where you got like all crinkled up bills and stuff and you gotta fold them out, and the 50,000 could look like a big stack. Or if you got 50,000 from the bank, what do you have, like 10 stacks of $20 bills? Oh no, 10 stacks, 5 stacks, or is it 10 stacks of $20 bills and $5,000 $5,000 stacks like that. Okay, or you got 10 stacks of 100 or 5 stacks of 100, which is $5,000, or 50,000 or $10,000. I'm tripping, my math is off. $10,000, you got 5 stacks. So then you got this brown paper bag you walk around with. I think it was like a bank bag, or maybe maybe he got a fanny pouch or something. I don't fucking know. But whatever he had, it was $50,000, and they making a mockery of it, saying it was a brown paper bag. So as long as you make a mockery of it, then you can convince people how stupid it sounds. But really, this could be really happening. And lo and behold, $50,000 isn't much for a bribe crime in government. So that's what begs me to believe that this is false. But there's a case that it could be true. But when people say that there's a video, I think if there is a video, I don't believe we'll see this video in this administration. If there's a video left after this administration, and I think I mean, we won't see the Epstein files. We won't see this tape. We won't see anything that will tie Donald Trump to anything negative anymore. He's getting everybody out of there who is not a bootlicker. If you're not licking Trump's boots, he don't want you working for him. That's why he has the FBI. That's why he has ICE agents, the Department of Justice, all his cronies in there. And if you turn on him, he'll get you out of there. As simple as that.
What we learned was that the FBI found allegations that Tom Homan had been offering to influence federal contracts in the new Trump administration when he got into office, and he would do so in exchange for money. So they began investigating him, and shockingly enough, they started an undercover probe and recorded Homan actually receiving and accepting $50,000 in cash in a paper bag. What happened was he took the money in September 20th, 2024. And at that point, he could conceivably have been charged with the crime of conspiracy or fraud. But the FBI and the Justice Department under President Biden decided to wait and continue monitoring Tom Homan to see, would he try to influence the contract once he was a public official? Once Donald Trump named him as border czar, would he touch back with the business executives, the FBI agents who were posing as contractors? Would he offer to do more for them? Would he ask for more money? Would he essentially engage in criminal conduct while he was a public official? But then the probe got stalled as soon as Trump's appointees took over the reins at the FBI and the Justice Department, and no further investigative steps were taken. When we reached out to the White House, the FBI, and the Justice Department and asked them about why this investigation was closed, they said that it had been a baseless investigation from the start, that the Biden administration appeared to have targeted Homan unfairly, and that they found no credible evidence that he was engaged in any criminal wrongdoing. Of course, our sources felt very differently, that the investigation had been frozen and mothballed, and they weren't able to pursue the leads that they had after recording Homan receiving money. Members of Congress on the Democratic side of the aisle are going to be pushing to investigate this further, that they are really disturbed that an investigation that involved a recording of the then private citizen Tom Homan taking cash raises all sorts of questions and makes them think there was a credible reason to continue investigating him, and that public corruption is serious and those kinds of cases shouldn't be closed down without a good reason.
Well, if y'all want to know what happened to Greece, this is what happened. This is what happened, dog. It's almost a fact. This is a fact, man. Anyway, everyday people, man, it is getting late, and I guess if you got a government job, you better find out if you're gonna be working in the morning. I'm gonna be tuned into the news and see if they sign close to the last hour. Well, it's almost midnight in DC. As soon as it hits 10 o'clock here, it's 11 o'clock there. So in the next hour or so, we'll definitely have we'll know if the government shut down. And I appreciate everybody coming through to this, Republican or Democrat. Whether y'all like it or not, Donald Trump is our president. And I'm going to just say it. And I'm going to tell y'all respectfully that it is what it is. But just because somebody's your president does not mean you lay down and roll over and don't fight for what's right. So, also to the people who are thinking that the Democrats want Medicare and stuff, SNAP benefits and stuff for illegals. No, we don't. We want it for our people. We want it for our grandparents, for our homeless. We want these resources for the American people. Now, sometimes do people slip through the cracks and you get someone illegal with false documents? Yes, it happens. But that's so small compared to the amount who don't have it. So at the end of the day, all I gotta tell y'all is find out who your representative is. I know who mine is, Senator Langford, and I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. I'm gonna hit him up on Twitter, be like, you know good, get this stuff done, cause you got a whole military base full of people. I think it's 30 to 50,000 people working on Tinker Air Force Base every day, and you over here lollygagging, talking about paying for illegals. Man, you know what? Oh, I ain't gonna say nothing, but yeah, I was gonna say something. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna be back tomorrow. Anyway, check out some of the recap videos of the live. So right now you watching this. If you're watching this vertical, tomorrow you can watch the recap horizontal. Okay, you'll love it because we love it. Anyway, everyday people, like, comment, subscribe. I will definitely holler at y'all later. Peace. Turn the lights off on y'all. Let's go to bed. No.